Hello, this is my presentation on understanding the treatment options for mothers suffering from postpartum depression by Jessica W. Slusher for Liberty University. My benchmark research proposal. My abstract states that postpartum depression can become a very serious problem for many mothers all across the world. Some women who have never struggled with mental health concerns can become quite surprised when they begin to exhibit symptoms of depression after having a baby. As a mother of 3 young children myself, I was told to watch out for the baby blues and minor mood swings that will likely occur after giving birth, but I wasn't educated on the seriousness of postpartum depression. Women who experience postpartum depression can feel alone and scared and may not know how to navigate seeking treatment for their symptoms. This research proposal assignment highlights the need for more research to be conducted on the treatment options for postpartum depression and the effectiveness of those treatments. This research proposal specifically aims at a gap in the literature relating to women living in England who are experiencing postpartum depression. The paper concludes with the implication this study would have on the counseling field and how to integrate a biblical perspective in light of these implications. So the whole goal here is to gain a better understanding of the importance of effective treatments for mothers suffering from postpartum depression. My literature review starts by saying that postpartum depression affects 1 out of every 10 new mothers and is the most common medical complication of maternity. The prevalence of this mental health condition is reason enough for it to be studied and expanded upon. This comes from a journal article titled Postpartum Depression, A Glimpse of Light in the Darkness. As my literature review continues, one study in the Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecological Research explores the relationship between dietary intakes of omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, also known as PUFA, and postpartum depression. This study showed that low dietary intake of omega-3 PUFA during pregnancy was correlated with lower EPA levels, which tended to lead to postpartum depression. Another study discussed is the use of selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, on women struggling with postpartum depression. This study showed that SSRIs were effective during the acute stage of postpartum depression, but explained that more research needed to be done on this method of treatment as well. As my literature review continues further, I found that one study shows that postpartum depression is prevalent in Pakistan and that antidepressants and other psychotherapeutic modalities are used as treatment in this part of the world. Postpartum depression can affect any new mother, and there is evidence that shows that postpartum depression is common all over the world. The gap in the literature states that a limitation of this study is that it cannot be generalized to a larger population because this patient population is strictly women in the United States that have moderate to severe postpartum symptoms. So the article I'm talking about is based upon a brexanolone injection that has been shown to reduce signs of postpartum depression on women who have experienced severe postpartum depressive symptoms in the United States specifically. My research question is, does brexanolone injection reduce the postpartum depression symptoms of women living in England? So the hope is to be able to generalize the use of brexanolone injection to reduce postpartum symptoms of women all over the globe. This question is important because if we can begin to show evidence that brexanolone injection is an effective treatment for women in different areas of the world who suffer from postpartum depression, then we can provide more evidence-based treatments to mothers living in different areas of the world. So my hypothesis for this research proposal says that quantitative data will support the hypothesis that brexanolone injection will decrease the symptoms of postpartum depression in women living in England. And the null hypothesis would state that brexanolone injection would have no effect on the symptoms of postpartum depression women living in England. So for my design, an experimental laboratory study will help bring evidence-based practice to light, and my experimental laboratory studies will use brexanolone injection as the independent variable and clinical symptoms of postpartum depression as the dependent variable. A quasi-experimental design is appropriate for this study because the sample is non-random and more specific. This research will contribute to the field of counseling because it will give counselors and practitioners more evidence-based findings for the treatment of postpartum depression. So for my integration, I chose 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, "For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control." Postpartum depression can be so scary. This study speaks to the biblical principle of courage. Scripture reminds us that the Lord calls us not to have a spirit of fear, but rather of power and love and self-control. So mood episodes are common when experiencing postpartum depression, and these episodes can negatively affect the mental health of new mothers. This research proposal hopes to find that brexanolone injection can be generalized to women all over the world to help reduce their postpartum symptoms significantly. As believers, we can hold on to the word that reminds us to be courageous and focus on our spirit of power and love and self-control. If brexanolone injection is commonly offered as a treatment for postpartum depression, then mothers can take control of their health and not be led by a spirit of fear, but instead by a spirit of courage. Thanks, y'all.